First and foremost, I just want to say thanks for being here and getting up early this morning before Thanksgiving. As one of the guests said to me, it feels like the weekend because we sort of have a long weekend with Thanksgiving ahead of us here, and it's such a great time of year to have family and friends gather without much to do except enjoy a great meal. And we start most every program with some music, and it's probably cruel and unusual punishment to make these guys get up the first day of their break. But I am grateful to have them with us this morning. These are the Headmaster Singers, and they will perform "Soon May the Wellerman Come" by the Longest Johns. Please join me in welcoming them and thanking them for getting up.
To sea, the name of the ship was the Billy O.T. The wind blew up her bow and down. Blow, my bully boys, blow. Soon may the weathermen come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when his hunting is done, we'll take our leave and go. She had not been 2 weeks from shore when down on her a right whale bore. The captain called all hands and swore he'd take that ship in tow. Soon may the weathermen come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tugging is done, we'll take our leave and go. Before the boat had hit the water, the whale's tail came up in color, against the side harpoon and fodder, when she died down low. Soon may the weathermen come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tugging is done, we'll take our leave and go. No lines cut, no whale was freed. The captain's mind was not agreed, and he belonged to the whaleman's creed. He took that ship in tow. Soon may the weathermen come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tugging is done, we'll take our leave and go. Still that whale did go. Soon may the weathermen come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tugging is done, we'll take our leave and go.
As for the bird, the lights still on, the lights not cut, and the whale's not gone. The weatherman makes his regular call, courage the captain, crew, and all.
Soon may the weathermen come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tugging is done, we'll take our leave and go. Soon may the weathermen come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tugging is done, we'll take our leave and go.
Thank you very much. I was thinking about, first of all, how much I enjoyed that, and secondly, I was thinking about a couple of small moments that occurred while they were singing. Did you notice one of them pulled out his iPhone to confirm they had the words? Well, I watch this a lot when the students get up to speak, sometimes adults too. I just do not have the courage yet to put things on my iPhone because I fear it'll just go dead, and then I won't know what to say. I was also thinking, just to kind of give you some small moments and insights into MBA, John Diani, who's the second on the end there, works with our football team. He manages it, and he wrote me the other night. It seemed like, was it about 1 a.m., John? It was after the football game last Friday night. Of course, I am asleep at 1 a.m., but I'm up around 4. And so I get up and I read his email, and he says, I'm sorry about what happened last night. Of course, the first thing I think, oh gosh, what happened last night? Because I don't know anything that happened last night except that we won that game. And he said the student section got rowdy, which actually is something I've enjoyed. I don't know if you've been to our games, but it is really fun to see the student support and excitement. And they jump up and down on these aluminum seats, and they broke some of the seats. And they picked up the aluminum seat and took it down, and he said, you know, we've got to figure out a solution so this problem doesn't happen. And still, I'm sitting there thinking, what is this problem? And so I write him back. Of course, like most teenagers, he's probably asleep until about 11 or noon, and I don't hear back from him till the afternoon. And he says, well, just that they picked up this aluminum piece, and we probably just ought to have concrete stands out there. Is that right? And you know, and again, all I could think of was just how nice it is that he wrote me about this, and you know, and also how relieved I was that, you know, there wasn't an ambulance and a few other problems. But it's just fun to maybe give you a glimpse, which I'm going to try to do in a couple of places during the program. But thanks again for getting up. You guys have a great Thanksgiving. I appreciate you being here. So I mentioned the football game last week, and Jody Johnson had sent out a note, I think, to a lot of young alums to come watch football practice this morning after this program, probably a little bit after this program, maybe 15, 20, 30 minutes after this program. But we are, as I think probably most of you know, in the state championship game next Thursday evening in Chattanooga. The TSSAA has bid it out to different cities. It's been in Cookeville for a number of years and now has moved to Chattanooga at Finley Stadium at 7 p.m. Eastern Time next Thursday night. I did a little research yesterday, and I sent this note out this morning. In 1997, the TSSAA split basically the public and private schools, or to be more precise, those schools that gave financial aid and those that did not. And so that split occurred in 97, and since then we have played in what is known as Division II. And so there will have been next week 24 state championships since 1997. NBA's been in 14 of those state championships, which really is impressive given, you know, the focus that we do have on accepting boys that have to be able to do the work here. You know, there's no compromise about that question. I'm involved in all of that and think it's really important for the school. And of the 13 times, since next week will be the 14th, we've won 7 of the 13. BA has won 5 times, Ensworth and MUS 4, and Macaulay 3. And we play Macaulay next week, and as I said in my note, they're likely to be the favorite team because they're undefeated this year. We are 9-3, and we've won 8 consecutive games. I added a postscript that I'm obviously bullish on NBA for a number of reasons, but particularly because of that streak and how we've been playing of late. Well, now there's thinking about the football games and this practice afterwards. I see in my notes here that you're about to see a drone video of the campus. We use drones all the time now, and I bet we will more and more for various reasons, but it captures great footage of a football game or any event, and now you'll see it of the campus. So let's play it, please. drone video is spectacular footage. I have that same view of the Burkholder Center from our house and see it at night. A lot of people think it looks like the Kennedy Center, sort of just as a panoramic view. And I was also reflecting that John Diane is one of the main people that uses the drones and films a lot of that for us. I was going to move into talking a little bit about the campus and the school and giving you a quick update. We have a spectacular campus. There's no question in my view. There are 50 acres here. There are 10 acres at Sylvan Park, and there are over 200 acres on a mountaintop near McMinnville at a place we call Long Mountain. The campus has grown significantly in time, and if people were kind of studying the physical campuses of schools in Tennessee, for example, most people would probably say Baylor has the most spectacular physical campus. They have 600 acres on the Tennessee River. I mean, it is spectacular. But I would argue that the physical campus, the way MBA is set up, is as handsome as any other school I know, certainly in Tennessee, and I'd list several other states. I know I'm prejudiced, but that's how I would say this, how I would describe it. I was thinking yesterday, because I get to give a lot of talks, and I was having a meeting early yesterday morning with one of my former advisees who's at Stanford, and he was telling me that he's taking a public speaking course, and I was sort of registering internally, that, what do you want to think about as you give talks? And I think the most important issue is to feel comfortable, authentic. You want to know your stuff. You want to figure out smart ways to accentuate stories, and you want to have good lines. And I wish I had used this line yesterday with the grandparents, because I was talking about the physical campus, and I was using some of the same storyline, that it is a spectacular place. But I would say, and this is the line, that the outer picture of MBA is not half as good as the inner picture. And what a boy gets inside in terms of the skills and the character and the framing of who he is much greater than whatever is outside on the campus. And you see that in these small moments. I use the story of John, but there are so many rich stories each week that I won't bore you, but just to kind of punctuate these comments a little bit. 2 weeks ago, what is today? Wednesday. So 2 weeks ago, Monday, around 4:30, 4:45, I had an email from a 9th grade boy, and this was after a very long meeting where I had to kind of crunch a lot of numbers with some people, and I was a little tired. And I saw this email from this 9th grader, and it began, "Mr. Joy, I don't know you as well as I wish, but I need to talk to you. My mother had an aneurysm today, and she's in the hospital in a coma. I don't have much information. I cannot visit the hospital. My father hasn't told me much. And she is the light of my life." I paused on that line because it was so profound from a 9th grade boy to just write out of the blue. Well, it wasn't out of the blue, obviously, but to write me and to say, "I need to talk to you." I subsequently talked to him about 6 times that night. I was worried about him because I didn't know his grandmother was with him. And sadly, tragically, she died the next morning. But you're a part of these students' lives in such rich ways. And to kind of give you a counterpoint to that story, just to let you know that there are a lot of fun, humorous times in all of this, and it's all not so exciting but pedantic and routine as you might expect. Another 9th grade boy was in my office, and I also didn't really know him that well, but he's not doing well. And I was they wanted me, I was kind of the last resort. 4 people had met with him. They said, "You need to meet with him. You got to shake him up. He's not doing his work." And so I said, well, tell me about yourself. And he said, well, I like sports. I said, good, I like sports too. And then he said, and I like my dogs. I have 2 dogs. I said, oh, I like dogs. I have 2 dogs. And so we kept going, and I could tell he really needed some structure in his life, and I needed to tell him to write a plan. And so at the end, I said to him, I said, there's a saying, you want to be the kind of person your dog thinks you are. Kind of looked at me quizzically. And I said, do they like you? He said, yeah, they really like me. I feed them, I play with them. I said, good. Well, they want you to do well academically. So, not sure what he thought, but we'll see after Thanksgiving. So I was talking about the campus. We have 825 students. We have 150 faculty and staff who work here. We've done a lot of construction, obviously, of late. The Burkholder Center, which I'll mention when I introduce Pete, is the largest project we've ever done. We've survived COVID fairly well in that we've been in school regularly since the beginning of last year, and we have not had a case for about 3 months. And that's not to say we're bulletproof, but it's been great. The fall's been relatively normal. We started school on August 18th, and we finished the semester on December 17th. We had the largest spaghetti supper we've ever had, and it was spectacular in the new field house. We've had lots of big events on campus. A guy named Anthony Ray Hinton, who spoke earlier, Amanda Knox, who spoke a couple of weeks ago, 600 people at dinner for that event. We've had all of our athletic events. I've already talked a little bit about football, but crew, cross country, golf, rifle. We're in the basketball, wrestling season, hockey season, swimming right now. Our debate team is ranked #1 in the country of all schools, private, public, large, small. They have stayed in that spot now for 4 weeks. Our mock trial team, Wade, the coach, is here this morning. They continue to do spectacular work. Our boys are fully engaged in service and all sorts of other smaller and larger programs on a day-to-day basis. So things are going well, but in any kind of setting where you deal with a lot of people, you wake up, as I did after John wrote me, and think, what has happened now? But we are very grateful for the community. It is strong, it is meaningful, and to give you one more small example of that, a senior boy was in an accident on homecoming weekend driving home to Mount Juliet. His car flipped several times, very serious brain injuries. Now for about 8 weeks, he's been hospitalized. He's at the Shepherd Center in Atlanta. I wrote our Atlanta alumni. It has been really amazing what they've done. His family is living with John Rollins' family in a guest house they have. They've moved into another house this week while the Rollins family have some company there. Our alumni have brought meals, have visited them in Atlanta. It has been profoundly kind and generous, and it's a really great example of the community. So this morning we celebrate the community by recognizing 2 individuals, one for a Distinguished Service Award, one as the Distinguished Alum. I'm first going to recognize Pete DeLay. It's really great to see a number of Pete's classmates here with him this morning, and his wife Catherine, and someone I know well. We share not only, I think, a passion for MBA, but we went to the same alma mater and in college, and so we have a lot in common, and I'm very grateful to recognize you this morning, Pete. When others heard about Pete's recognition, they wrote us and said NBA could not be honoring a finer man. I cannot think of a more deserving honoree. Pete and Catherine do not have any children of their own, but they do have 12 godchildren. So I think that tells you a little bit about their love of family and people. Actually, I think that number's wrong. Isn't it 18? It is 12. Okay, I was just being... Pete has had a great impact on many professional, civic, and political organizations in our community. He has served the school beautifully over 40 years as an alumnus and ambassador. A few of Pete's contributions to MBA over the past 40 years: he chaired the annual fund in '99. He was elected to the board in 2007. He's currently chairing the Building and Grounds Committee during the building, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, of the largest project ever on the campus. He chaired the class reunion of the class of '78. He's hosted a number of events in their home, he and Catherine have. He's procured guest speakers. He's actively chairing now the Capital Campaign from the Hill to the Horizon. He's supported our wrestling program out of a personal love for the sport and for the coaches and competitors. And he serves as a great mentor there. He's helped numerous alumni through networking and through career counseling and employed a number of alumni. His legacy began as a student and will continue throughout his life. One of my favorite moments of being with Pete and sort of an example of his unselfishness is he and Catherine gave a wonderful gift to this campaign, and they named the wrestling area through that gift, but they didn't name it for themselves. They named it for Frank Simpson. And we had a lunch together. Frank had no idea. He said, "I don't usually have lunch with Mr. Joya in Zimmerman. What is this all about?" And so we sat down and we told Frank that the Delays had decided to name the wrestling area in his honor. So Pete, it is our pleasure and to recognize you this morning in receiving the Distinguished Service Award. I'll hold it for you.
So I'll begin by saying that the only person who really hates to hear me speak more than me usually is the listener, so I'll be very brief. I'm happy to join all of you in celebrating Jim Cheek as MBA's distinguished alumnus. Jim was a wonderful man who was so successful in all aspects of his life. He was a devoted family man, a fantastic attorney, a tremendous leader whose life influenced all who knew him in so many profound ways. Congratulations to Jim and to his family. I'm honored and humbled to receive the Distinguished Service Award, particularly when I look in the audience and see so many people who have done so much and are so deserving in so many ways for how they serve MBA. Today, as we celebrate Thanksgiving, is an ideal time to reflect on our many blessings and all the things for which we're most grateful. Please allow me to share with you some personal things for which I'm particularly grateful. I'm most grateful for Catherine, my wife of 35 years. I'm very grateful for my faith and my family, for my many good friends, and I'm grateful for the privilege to live in a country where men and women service and sacrifice to protect our freedoms. But I must make it very clear that I'm also extremely grateful for Montgomery Bell Academy, for what it has done for me and for what it continues to do for our current and future generations of students. When it comes to MBA, I'm grateful for its leadership, particularly that of Brad Joya, whose 28 years have lifted MBA to unprecedented heights. I'm also grateful for MBA's faculty and staff. No school is more blessed with people so devoted to the school's mission. In the classroom, on the coaching staffs, in the development office, you name it. We have the most dedicated professionals working to make MBA the best it can be. I also want to express my appreciation for the wise and thoughtful stewardship of MBA's Board of Trust, led by David Ingram. Our board is comprised of extremely talented people who place MBA's success at the very top of their priority list. As David completes his term as board chair, we'll remain in very capable hands with Bill Carpenter as our next chairman. Finally, please let me express my heartfelt appreciation for MBA's very loyal and generous donors whose investments in our school have provided the resources necessary for MBA to carry out its mission. The reason I became involved and have remained involved at MBA for all these many years is that I can never repay what MBA has given to me. Please let me share a few of those gifts. I enthusiastically embrace MBA's mission, culture, and values, which are best summarized in our motto, gentleman, scholar, athlete. Not as an aspiration, but as an expectation and model for life. I attained a first-class education at MBA. For me and many like me, no matter which college or university we attended, our academic foundation was sound and we were well prepared. Equally as important, I'm proud that because of MBA, I learned to think critically and I developed a desire for continuous lifelong learning and intellectual curiosity. That doesn't mean MBA men agree with each other on every topic. It does mean, however, when we disagree, we can do so without being disagreeable and remain civil. We can have differences of opinions while still respecting the opinion of people with whom we do not agree. I'm very proud of our honor code, which requires MBA men to act honorably, to be trustworthy, and to achieve by their own efforts. Perhaps the most enduring gifts that MBA has given me are the friendships that I've developed and the relationships that I've built. These friendships have lasted a lifetime as they're founded in shared experiences, culture, and values that endure through the generations. I'm connected with many of my closest friends and colleagues of all ages through our shared experiences at MBA. The gifts that MBA has given me and that I so deeply treasure will continue to be received by gentlemen, scholars, and athletes here now and those who come after us. Our students have the opportunity to explore their interests in many different areas, from athletics to debate, robotics, moot court, art, music, and many more. The simple expectation is that whatever the area of interest, they embrace it wholeheartedly. When they do, they begin to enjoy success, which leads to self-confidence, which leads to more success. At MBA, regardless of what your area of interest, you can find your niche, and there are a lot of ways to be successful. MBA has long been a great school. However, it's never been greater than it is today. This is not simply because of the beautiful buildings and facilities, although they play an important role. It's primarily because of MBA's unwavering focus on improving the school, consistent with its cultures and values. Taking the long view, MBA's success, in my opinion, is the result of its clear mission to develop our young men into gentlemen, scholars, and athletes. The enduring lessons and values learned on the Hill remain with us the rest of our lives. Our students are very fortunate to attend MBA, but they've earned the right to be here, and there's unquestionably a great deal of sacrifice that they make. They handle their work in the classroom while being involved in extracurricular activities at the highest level. Learning to balance their time is good character development and leads them to become better men. Like many of us in this room, their appreciation for MBA will grow as the years pass. So gentlemen, please don't feel that you're better than anyone because you go to MBA, but you will be better men for having gone to MBA. We all appreciate that no student has ever matriculated through the rigors of MBA without an incredibly committed family. Parents sacrifice greatly in terms of time, energy, and financial resources to prioritize what MBA offers their sons. In my humble opinion, parents, you are making the best investment of your lives. Again, I'm humbled to receive this award, but more, I'm very grateful to be here today to celebrate the success of our school and the tremendous impact that it makes in the lives of our past, present, and future MBA men. Not only while they're on the Hill, but throughout their lives. Thank you for allowing me to be here today and for this honor. I wish you all a happy Thanksgiving, and I wish our football team great success next week.
Pete highlighted the NBA ideal of gentleman, scholar, athlete, and I was talking a few minutes ago about how we don't compromise, I guess, in accepting boys for athletic reasons. I wish you'd been in assembly on Monday. Mark Tipps, the athletic director, had recognized with the coaches the fall sports, and when he finished, he asked all the coaches to stand, and he talked about how we like to win and do well. And then he said, but we have a very clear ideal here of gentleman, scholar, athlete, and athlete comes last. And I was so glad to see that culture kind of develop and strengthened and reinforced, because it really is critical. And it's also critical to be intentional about it and to talk about it all the time. You can never let up. I'm very glad to speak about Jim Cheek now, who is receiving the Distinguished Alumnus Award, an award that we were going to give to him last year, but he just wasn't feeling well enough to receive the award. I asked him to do so, but he said, I can't this year. He said, maybe next year. And probably in mentioning that, I should tell you that I literally talked to him almost every day for a period of 2 years. And the reason I did so was that I think we had a very comfortable friendship and relationship. And secondly, we shared dealing with cancer. And so I think he felt very comfortable talking with me about those issues, and I with him. And what I learned about the private side of Jim Cheek was very different than what I think perhaps some of you know in terms of the public side, which I'll talk about now and then end up talking a little bit about the private side. Jim comes from a very well-known family in Nashville. The Cheeks are prominent and have a wonderful museum and named after them, and issues like the history of Maxwell House coffee and other things are connected to their family. He graduated from MBA in 1960, a class that will boldly and definitely tell you they're the greatest class ever at MBA. Several of them are here this morning. I've heard them say that. Isn't that right? He then matriculated at Duke University, and then at Vanderbilt Law School, and then went up to Harvard to get a further degree. Education was always important to Jim. Following his graduation from Harvard, he joined the faculty at Vanderbilt Law School as an assistant dean. I've talked with John Beasley frequently about Jim's work there and how much he appreciated Jim and loved him. He used that word. In 1970, he began practicing with Bassbury and Sims, where he built a reputation of one of Nashville's and the country's most successful lawyers for over 50 years. His national reputation as an expert in securities law and in corporate and governance matters earned him significant roles as chair of the Legal Advisory Board of the New York Stock Exchange and the National Task Force on Corporate Responsibility. Additionally, he represented virtually every public company in Nashville and led teams for Bank of America and AutoZone. As I said a couple minutes ago, he loved education and teaching, and he did so teach at Vanderbilt for many years. And he would talk to me frequently about his class and his preparation for his class and his grading and what his students were like. So he served as an adjunct professor and then full professor at Vanderbilt Law School. Serving on the board at MBA, I think, also reinforced that love of education. And he was very focused on what the school's about and what its vision is for the future. It's strategic planning. That's a realm he would enjoy talking with me about all the time. He's a very competitive person, particularly in the sport of tennis. He played both at MBA and at Duke, where he was a four-year letterman. He won many local and regional tournaments and continued playing into his late 70s, and he was among the top players ranked so in the country. He loved art and music and travel and good food and wine and culture and friends and family. And I think, and this probably gets toward the more personal side, particularly at the end of his life, he just relished being together with his family, planning trips. Even in this last year when he really struggled, could barely walk around, he would talk to me about photographing their last trip and working hard to learn how to use different cameras and making sure that he could put a book of that experience together. A group of 26 family members, he donned the wee cheeks. And that last trip was in Montana. He married twice. Sigourney and he had three children, Jamie, who's here with us this morning, Daniel and Matthew. Sigourney lost a battle to cancer in 2010 after 42 years of marriage to Jim. He then married Nancy Johnson Weaver, better known as Nikki, in 2012, and created this blended family, that Wee Cheeks, that I referenced a moment ago. He and Nikki enjoyed wonderful travel and companionship these last 10 or so years. His life was filled with dedication and determination. He exceeded all expectations, and I know MBA, its board, and more importantly, his family and friends will miss him and have missed him tremendously. He died in August. But his legacy will live on through lots of means. I said earlier, I would just end a little bit personally. When I first got to know Jim, particularly Sigourney, I was a little intimidated by them, particularly Sigourney, incidentally. I guess Jamie can understand that. And by the end of his life, when I was talking to him daily, he would end every conversation by saying, "I love you," which is so perhaps different than some of the ways you all knew Jim. Just a wonderful individual, and as you can tell, I am thrilled to be able to recognize him this morning with our Distinguished Service Award, and Jamie is going to come up and make just a few comments. So join me in congratulating Jim and welcoming Jamie to the podium. I'll hold this.
Thank you, Brad. I don't know if I'll add too much to that. Actually, I'd never seen those pictures. I've seen pictures of my dad, obviously in his youth, but those highlighted how much hair he had and seeing him with no glasses. He was a good-looking man. Those were good pictures. It's probably more appropriate for my brother Daniel to be up here as the only one of us that graduated from MBA. Alas, he's a ER doctor in Denver and full on duty this week. Or maybe my son Jack, who's a senior here, and he's got the full on flu. So he wasn't able to be here, but I will do my best to represent Dad. This week would have been his 79th birthday. And, a breakfast event here at MBA would probably been at the top of his list as something maybe to do on his birthday week. And I think most of you who knew him, he loved MBA, loved MBA. It was probably his top love. Don't tell Vanderbilt Law School, but it probably was his number one. And the relationships he had with the alumni, with the board, and with you, Brad, he cherished so much. And you said that so well. So thank you all on behalf of my brothers and Nikki. And I know Dad is watching from above. Thank you.
Well, that concludes our brief Thanksgiving program. I thank you again for being here this morning, and I urge you to stick around a little bit, right, Jody, if you're interested to see some of the team out or see the team out on the field. We'd also like any of you who would like to be in a photo, either with the Cheeks or representing Jim and honoring him, or with Pete and Catherine honoring Pete, to please come down front and we'll organize you and take a few photos. Again, thanks for getting up this morning. Hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving.